We're now a few months into the launch of Battlefield 2042, and we have yet to get any real accountability for the product received. Well, not at least on the public side of things. On the 15th of February, EA had another one of these top secret spy meetings where they discuss and optimize the methods to siphon money out of you all. Luckily, our boy Tom Henderson somehow got a report on it, and it's got some really interesting information. So this call basically concerned what they thought went wrong with 2042 and how the company sees the future of this game and the Battlefield franchise as a whole. I'm surprised this is all being addressed so late. I mean, we might be looking at the worst AAA launch of all time. Laura Emile, who's EA's Chief Studios Officer, backed this up by stating that it's really important to acknowledge when we have misses, and that this is certainly the case with the Battlefield launch, which failed to meet the expectations of our players, and also clearly missed our own expectations. I mean, first of all, what did these bozos actually expect? It was extremely obvious that the game was nowhere near ready when it was in beta, and anyone could tell you that dropping the game in this state would have got these kind of results. Again, customer expectations, sure, it didn't meet those, but if you're in on the operation, you should have been able to see this coming from a mile away. Anyways, she was kind enough to outline several key factors that were thought to have caused this catastrophic launch. Until now, some of these factors weren't publicly known or even discussed. Firstly, the Frostbite engine. It's old tech at this point, and supposedly they had to push this massive update to make 2042 work. Doing this took over 18 months of development time, and apparently it's basically a new engine at this point. Clearly the engine has plenty of issues though, and I seriously don't understand why they're so attached to the Frostbite engine. Especially with all this new blood within DICE, I'm sure they're not all super familiar with it. Not only that, but we did have issues with Battlefield 5 with that famous "we don't have the tech" quote. I'm not sure if it's just feasible to go to a different engine, but in my opinion they should use something that's industry standard. Perhaps they could go with something like the Unreal Engine, and then just work off that, because having a functional game is much better than having an ambitious one. The next reason is the default excuse right now, which is that due to the pandemic they were basically forced to work from home, and the project was just half finished at that point. Definitely feels that way, almost as if everyone was given a little part of the puzzle, and when it was all brought back together, the pieces just didn't fit. Somehow the beta almost caught some blame as well. According to Emile, after the beta, EA received a lot of feedback concerning bugs and unpolished areas of the experience, but they also got a substantial amount of positive feedback from the players as well. Supposedly people were saying that Battlefield is back, this is my Battlefield, and based off this, they put confidence in the team to bring it to release. Honestly, this is the worst part yet. Firstly, the fact that they mentioned beta feedback here is hilarious. I think the beta feedback was more or less buggy mess, OP vehicles, too many vehicles, but good gunplay and infantry. EA literally added more broken vehicle attachments, increased some vehicle counts, made hit reg worse, and literally ruined gunplay. They literally did closer to the opposite of what the feedback was actually asking for, and they're also high-key putting blame on the team here, saying that they put confidence in the team, and then when they got to the release, it just wasn't what they expected. They should have pushed the game back, no questions asked, that is just how it is. The release we got was said to have a bug count ratio that reached historic levels for a DICE game. They were also mocking that the reviews prior to release were in the 70s and 80s. Not sure why reviews were brought into this. I feel like an 8 out of 10 review must be paid, but I could be wrong there. And then the delusion actually continues when they said that the Day 0 and Day 1 patches actually caused good critical reception. Seriously though, the critical reception was anything but good. It was quite literally only on sponsored reviews, and I don't get why they're even referencing those in an internal call. You don't have to lie to anyone, this is not public. Apparently things took a turn only due to the surprise release of Halo Infinite multiplayer. Pretty sure we kind of knew about Halo coming out, so I don't know how a million, billion, trillion dollar studio like EA DICE doesn't know about that game coming out. Anyways, that game doesn't really even compete with Battlefield. Not because it's not as good, but in fact Battlefield doesn't really have any competition if the formula is done right. It's a combined arms shooter which really just doesn't have too much competition there. Anyways, they also addressed the Steam reviews, which was something I was really hoping to see. Apparently these reviews were simply caused by PC players having a performance cap. While that was certainly an issue, there was a lot more to it, and EA had 3 key reasons. They had bugs and poor performance, game design and feature choices, and the game not aligning with player expectations. Emile elaborated on all these reasons and outlined the ways that EA will act and improve upon them. On the bugs and issues front, she acknowledged that DICE games historically have bug issues at launch, and that the bug count fell into the range they expected compared to other launches. It was also believed that these issues would be manageable. She reiterated what Andrew Wilson said, where DICE historically is very good at adapting games in live service, connecting with players, connecting with the community, and getting the game to a place where the players expect. Why is this accepted? They literally said that DICE always does this and it's their standard at this point. Literally go next and get a new studio. We shouldn't be put in this situation every time. It's not fair for the players. I don't even have to mention the rest of the stuff though. That description of DICE is nowhere near what we're getting right now, and the fact that they released this game during DICE's Christmas break was one of the most brutal situations I've ever seen with a AAA FPS game. Meal acknowledged that player expectations have changed regarding live service, and that it wasn't the correct choice to let DICE do its regular release and fix method. I think it's not really a player expectation at this point, but it's more of an industry expectation and standard, as more games are actually releasing in a near finished state. Taking a turn to the design and feature choices, the lack of a scoreboard and VoIP along with the specialist system were mentioned, and we know that fixes in these areas are coming soon. Another crazy thing though is that they regret not doing more player testing. Neil said that clearly we didn't go wide enough with different player segments, and we certainly didn't go deep enough. So we did. I'm trying to record this, and the way that they've put this is just such a bullshit way of saying that we didn't bring enough players in and we didn't explore options and understand the game. Anyways, they said this was a big miss for the development cycle and process of the game. This is definitely an interesting one, and it's something I've been hearing from some other big creators. Usually players are brought in during the process to give feedback and improve the game. I know some of these guys who were actually brought in to test the previous games, and I have some friends who are just, top Battlefield players who actually got flown out to test early Battlefield games. This is supposed to happen with Battlefield 2042 in the form of the Players' Council. This was mysteriously binned though, and playtesting was then raffled to anyone who asked for it. Supposedly this is coming back though with a revision of 2042 specialist system, and before then, we're getting some improvements to the map design. It is not clear yet if this will involve public feedback or just information from select individuals. And honestly, a lot of this sounds good, and there's a bunch of restructuring happening within DICE. And with all the talent they've recently brought in, the game can definitely go in a better direction. But actions definitely speak louder than words, and we really need to see some results very soon. Anyways, that is all for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.